If you've been a coach for a couple years and you're still kind of struggling to get clients, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Coach Tony, and I've been a coach for over a decade now. And what I found is that most coaches don't have a client problem, they have an identity problem. I'm going to be sharing with you on today's video 3 powerful identity shifts that will help you step into the version you need to become in order to receive a lot more clients into your coaching business. If that sounds good, throw a like on this video and let's get right to it. So as I just mentioned, most coaches don't have a client problem, they have an identity problem. And the real problem is after you burn through your warm market, your friends, your family, the people that already know, like, and trust you, you eventually hit this wall where you have to enter the real game. And that is cold traffic, a cold audience. And that's where things start to change big time because these are people who don't know who you are yet. These are people who haven't experienced your work or your results yet. These are people who need to know what you're all about and resonate with your message and trust that you are the person to help them. But this is where a lot of great coaches struggle, right? Not because they're a bad coach, not because their work isn't powerful, but because the identity that helped them become a good coach is not the same identity that will help you become a successful coaching business owner. Being a great coach and being a successful business owner are 2 completely different things, quite honestly. And that's what we're going to tackle on today's video for you so that you can actually overcome and get into your next level here of being a successful coaching business owner. And so if you're like a health coach or a life coach or a mindset coach or a manifestation coach or transformation coach or any kind of heart-centered coach, then I don't need to convince you or tell you that what you do is powerful, right? The world needs a lot more of us, quite honestly, because we are the light bringers of the world. We are the change makers of the world. We are the ones that are healing in the world. And so undoubtedly, the work that you do is powerful. You know your message matters. You know there are people out there that need help. And so the real question is, why aren't enough of them finding you? Why aren't enough of them trusting you? Why aren't enough of them booking calls on your calendar? Why aren't enough of them becoming clients of yours? But most importantly, who do you need to become in order for all of that to change? This is a writer downer. Really pause with this for a second. Who do you need to become for all of that to change for you? When I asked myself this question, and I had to have a mentor point this out to me on my journey, but when I really reflected on this question, I needed to become a real business owner and leader, and not just a coach. And that's when the biggest shift started happening for me in my own coaching business. Because in the beginning, coaching revolves around helping people. However, in order to help enough people, you have to evolve and become a better business owner and a better leader for yourself and for your business. Because once you turn that gift of coaching and helping into a real business, you start to realize something very important. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, actually. Business is business. It's very binary. What is business, right? It's marketing and sales, right? So if you're not really an awesome marketer or salesperson, you've got to become one. Or you could become a leader who's resourceful enough to hire a really great marketer or marketing team or sales team. And so I know a lot of coaches who are watching this video right now are not going to want to hear that actually. They're going to be like, all I want to do is coach. I just want to help people. But the hard reality is, in order to help more people, you've got to reach more people. How do you reach more people? You've got to market yourself better. And that's a tough pill to swallow, right? When I first started getting into coaching, all I wanted to do was help people. I didn't want to be selling stuff. I didn't want to feel like a pushy, sleazy salesperson. I just wanted to help people. But I certainly didn't get into coaching to have to learn how to do funnels and traffic and build lead generation squeeze pages and offers and do sales calls and close people into your business, right? I got into it because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I'm sure you feel me here, right? However, the harsh reality is, if you're going to do this to scale, you've got to actually learn these other tools and skill sets or hire them out, right? Or delegate them to somebody else. But there has to be marketing and sales in a business if you're going to be in business for yourself. And so actually one of my mentors, he actually taught me it's 95% marketing and sales and 5% coaching to run a successful coaching business. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend 95% of your time and energy and resources doing marketing and sales. You can hire that out if that's not like your cup of tea, right? However, you have to have that ratio or close to it if you're going to have a successful business. And so right here at this point in the video, you could do a quick check-in. Where are you on that ratio? I'll tell you right now, I was the opposite of that. I was doing 95% coaching and 5% marketing and sales. which is why my coaching business wasn't growing. And so as I started to make that shift, my coaching business started to grow. And it is in direct proportion to that. And the better you get at marketing, the better you get at sales, the more efficient your business will grow. But that was the harsh reality I faced after I left my 18-year career as an IT professional to pursue coaching full time, is I had to become a salesperson for my business. And that's what I realized. I'm like, oh man, I was a shy, introverted IT person before becoming a salesperson and becoming a coach in what I'm doing now. And so wherever you are on that journey for yourself, this is a really, really important realization you have to have, is that sales and marketing are one of the biggest things in your business. And you've got to solve for those if you're ever going to be successful. And so the hard truth I had to learn is that if you want to help more people, you've got to become a person who can reach more people. And that means you can't just identify as a coach. You have to identify as a leader, as a messenger. You have to identify as someone who can clearly communicate their value to others. You have to identify as someone who can build trust with other people who've never met you yet. You have to identify as someone who can sell without feeling fake. You have to identify as someone who can market without feeling manipulative or pushy. You have to identify as someone who can be seen, be heard, be chosen, and be paid. Because what it comes down to is the identity of a coach and that of a business owner are not the same thing. A great coach can sit down with someone for 60 minutes and help them create a breakthrough in their life. But a great coaching business owner has to help someone see the possibility of that breakthrough long before they get on a call with them. A great coach can help someone transform after they say yes, of course. But a great coaching business owner needs to help someone see why saying yes is the next aligned step for them. A great coach can hold space for the other person. A great coaching business owner and leader, though, can also hold the vision for themselves, for their clients, for the business, for people who haven't even met them yet. That's what a great coaching business owner can do. And this is where identity shifting becomes so important. If you don't become that version, you stay stuck at the level you've been at. And I only know this because I'm living proof of this. Because most newer coaches are trying to create next level results from an old, smaller self-concept. They're trying to get more consistent clients while still identifying as someone still trying to figure things out. They're trying to charge higher premium prices while still identifying as someone who feels guilty receiving more money. They're trying to show up online more while still identifying as someone who's afraid to be judged. They're trying to sell while still identifying as someone who doesn't want to bother anybody. And the real problem here is that your business will simply reflect the identity you're operating from. And this is happening when it comes time to post, when it comes time to make the offer, when it comes time to send the follow-up, when it comes time to raise the price, when it comes time to ask for the sale. That's where your self-concept is playing the most powerful role. And that's why I said in the beginning of the video, you don't need more clients first. You need to upgrade your identity first, because the identity you're in determines how you show up in any area of your business or life. And how you show up determines who trusts you, and who trusts you determines who buys from you, and who buys from you and continues to buy from you determines who your audience and raving customers become. So at this point, I want to make this super practical. Hopefully it's pretty clear. You need to upgrade your identity, okay? But there's three very important shifts that I'm about to share with you that will help you do this. And these three shifts, I believe, are necessary for every coach and entrepreneur to make for themselves if they ever want to move beyond referrals and warm market and inconsistent client flow. So the first shift is this. They have to move from a helper to a leader. This one is huge. A lot of coaches primarily identify as helpers, which is awesome, but they need to evolve at some point because helping and leading are not the same thing. A helper waits for someone to ask for help. A leader creates the conditions for someone to recognize that help is available for them. A helper hopes people see the value in what they do. A leader communicates that value very clearly. A helper is afraid of being too much for people. A leader understands that the right people need their confidence, certainty, and conviction. A helper says, I don't want to be salesy or pushy. A leader says, if I know what I have can help somebody, then it's my responsibility to get it into their hands, to do whatever it takes. And to the point where I'm doing them a disservice if I don't bring them in and help them. This shift alone changed everything for me. And I know it can change the game for you too. Because once you start looking through that lens, you start showing up automatically different to every conversation you have. Because the reality is, when you're only in helper coaching mode, you may be unconsciously and perpetually waiting. Right? Waiting for people to reach out to you, waiting for someone to ask you for help, waiting for your content to magically land, waiting for enough confidence and clarity, waiting for permission, But leaders don't wait for permission. They decide right now. They show up. They make the message clear. And really great leaders invite people into transformation. They're not waiting for anything. And they don't do it with pressure or manipulation or desperation or anything like that. They do it with certainty, with conviction, with the knowing that what they have can help that person. There's a certain innate knowing, especially if you have helped other people, that certainly helps, right? With your client testimonials and results, of course. But that's the energetic difference between a helper and a leader, okay? So that's shift number one. Shift number two is you have to shift from good coach to good communicator. Because your ability to coach isn't good enough if people don't understand why they need your coaching to begin with. That's what a lot of incredible coaches miss, myself included. They're amazing inside the session, inside the experience. But when they're communicating what they do in their content, it doesn't create enough desire, trust, or clarity before the session. They post tips, they post inspiration, quotes, good general advice, but they're not clearly communicating the person's problem, the cost of staying where that person is if they don't change that problem, the possibility of the transformation they can have, and why their approach is different. That's good marketing. Marketing isn't just getting people's attention. It's helping them understand themselves more clearly. It's helping them name their problem they themselves couldn't articulate properly. It's helping them see the pattern they've been stuck in more clearly. It's helping them feel, oh my gosh, this person totally gets me. This person has walked in my shoes and knows the path forward. And once somebody feels understood, that's when real trust is being built. Because they're connecting, they understand. That person marketing and communicating effectively is now resonating and building trust on another level. This is exactly why cold leads need connection, clarity, and certainty. Because connection means they feel seen, clarity means they understand the problem and the path forward, and certainty means they believe that you can help them get there. So those are the three ingredients right there. And when those three ingredients are missing, people hesitate. They'll go right past you. And not because they don't want help, but because they don't trust you enough yet. They don't feel enough clarity yet. They don't feel enough certainty yet to move forward. That's really all it ever comes down to. So your job is not just to coach. Your job is to communicate, to speak to the old identity that they're stuck in and the new identity that they're becoming, to show them that bridge between the two worlds here, to help them feel what's possible before they even paid you yet. You have to kind of paint that picture ahead of time before anyone will ever say yes. And that is powerful marketing. If you can get good at that or hire somebody to get good at that for you, for your business, you're well on your way to becoming more successful. But the third shift that you need to make if you're going to have a very successful coaching business is you have to shift from a solo operator to a resourceful leader and owner. Because the reality is, maybe you don't want to be the best marketer in the world, right? I didn't want to be when I first started, but then I ended up learning so much about it, it actually became fun for me eventually. But maybe you don't want to learn every part of sales, or maybe you don't want to run ads or edit videos or build a funnel or write emails or follow up with people and create landing pages or become a full-time content creating machine, right? Maybe that's not your cup of tea, and that's okay. But then the identity shift becomes this: I am the kind of leader that can resource the mission appropriately. Sit with this one for a moment too, because this is very powerful. I am the type of leader that can resource the mission appropriately. And that can mean like maybe you learn the skill initially and then you hire it out and designate it to somebody else, right? Or a team. It might mean you need to bring in some more support or ask for help in some capacity. Or it might mean you find a closer or a content editor, an ad professional, or a virtual assistant, or even a mentor to help you wherever you are in your business, right? All of those things require a different level of identity, because some coaches say they want support, but then they still identify as someone who has to do everything alone. They say they want a team, but then they don't fully trust themselves that they can lead one. They say they want more clients, but then they don't invest into the systems or support that they need in order to help them get more clients. They say they want to scale their business, but they still operate like survival is their only option. And I say all these things with extreme compassion because I've been there. I've been through the journey, and I'm still on my way to where I'm going on my coaching journey, but I've been through a lot of these things that I'm talking about, and each one of them requires a next level of identity from you. And until you fully adopt that next level identity, you tend to keep falling back to your default. You see, when you're building something meaningful, especially after leaving something stable like a job, like I left my 18, 19-year your career to pursue coaching, right? That was a stable income, stable insurance. And now you enter into the world of entrepreneurship and everything is completely different. And so in and of itself, that creates a deeper tension with what you're doing, right? Part of you knows you're meant for more. Part of you knows you want to help more people. But another part of you is looking around your 3D world here, asking like, is this really working? Is this really gonna work? Can I really do this? What if I do fail? What if people don't buy? What if I'm not good enough? What if I left the safe path and this doesn't become what I hoped? Those were all thoughts that I had at one point. But that's exactly when your identity matters the most. Not when everything is working. Not when your calendar is full, not when you've got clients flowing to you, not when those Stripe notifications are dinging in your email and messages. That's the easy part. Identity matters most when all of that hasn't caught up to you quite yet, while you're still operating without the results that are reflecting it yet. Because that is when you have to decide who you are going to be before the world confirms it. That, my friend, is real manifestation and real identity work. When you can decide and declare to yourself who you are going to be long before the world shows you evidence of it, you're well on your way. And I don't mean just positive thinking or empty affirming or just sitting down and visualizing more clients. All those things are great when you do them properly. But what I really mean is becoming the person where that reality is normal for them. Actually elevating and leveling up your life and identity to that version of yourself, to that person who leads effectively, who communicates effectively, who sells with integrity, who builds trust in a cold market, who makes offers unapologetically, who follows up appropriately, who invests in the right support, who is resourceful when the time is needed, and the person who doesn't abandon the vision when the going gets tough. So here's the exercise I want to give you today. And although it's simple, it is very, very powerful. So grab yourself a notebook or just pause the video until after I explain it, and then just simply answer these 3 questions for yourself. Question 1, what identity am I currently running my coaching business from? And be as transparent and honest with yourself as possible here. Are you running your coaching business as an uncertain coach, a coach who's hiding, the overgiving coach or undercharging coach, the I hope people choose me coach, the I don't want to be salesy coach, the I'm still figuring things out coach? And remember, no judgment here. Okay, we just want to be transparent as possible to figure out exactly who you've been showing up as this whole time. Okay, question 2, what identity would naturally create the business I say I want? And I don't mean strategy. What identity? Maybe it's the confident leader, the clear communicator, the powerful marketer, the trusted guide, the resourceful owner or CEO, the coach who sells with love or with service, the entrepreneur who creates value every day, the person who receives money with gratitude instead of guilt. Name that identity for yourself. Make it super specific and feel the power of it. And question 3, what would that version of me do today? Not someday, not when the website's perfect, not when your funnel is put together. Right now. What would you do right now as that version of yourself? Would you finally make the decision? Would you post that video? Would you make that offer? Would you follow up with that one person? Would you send an email out? Would you clarify your message? Would you ask for help or hire support? Would you stop hiding behind learning and start leading? Right? What would that version of you be doing? Because every action is a vote for an identity. And I've got news for you. Every time you show up, you vote. Every time you hide, you vote. Every time you make the offer, you vote. Every time you avoid the offer, you vote. Every time you lead with certainty, you vote. And little by little, those votes add up and become evidence for one identity or the other. And that evidence towards your new identity becomes self-trust. And that self-trust ultimately starts to become that identity. And that identity will eventually become your new normal and your new default. So no, you never have to chase clients from desperation. You never have to be fake. You never have to be someone you're not. You just need to become more of who you actually are deep down. More clear, more courageous, more expressed, more certain, more willing to be seen, more willing to be heard, more willing to lead, more willing to communicate the value of your work, right? And treat it as a disservice if you don't show up. More willing to let go of the old version of you and let that version die so the next version can actually start running the business that you're looking to create. Because your next level of clients aren't waiting for you to run a better funnel. They're waiting for a different version of you. A version of you who no longer whispers the message. A version of you who no longer apologizes for making an offer. A version of you who no longer hides behind just being a coach. The reality is you are not just a coach, especially if you really are an impact maker and you're being called to do this work for the long haul here. You are a leader. You are a messenger. You are a business owner. You are someone who can not only create powerful transformations for people, but communicate those transformations for people. And when you become that person at your default, the way you show up changes. The way you speak changes. The way you sell changes. The way people experience you changes. And eventually, the business starts to reflect the identity that you finally decided to start embodying. So if this video spoke to you, comment below, "I'm making the shift." And not because they're magic words or anything like that, but because I want you to decide. I want you to declare to yourself that I am making the shift. I want you to draw a line in the sand. I don't want you to go back to your old self. I want you to start to step into your next level. You can do this. You can have, do, or be anything, no matter what your programming has told you up until now. And the old identity that's been hiding and waiting and doubting and worrying and overthinking and procrastinating, that version got you here. And so we honor them, we thank them, we appreciate them, but unfortunately what gets you here doesn't get you there. They can't lead you to your next level. And simply put, the next version of your business will require the next version of you. And that shift starts right now. Thanks for watching today. I appreciate you. If you like this video, make sure you throw a like on it. It helps YouTube to show it to more people. But if this really resonated with you today, make sure you check out the resources in the description of this video below, because every resource and every program I've ever put together, even the free ones, they're meant to help you shift your identity faster. And not only that, but to sustain it more effectively. You can do amazing things. You just got to believe. I'll see you in the next video.